Thank you for joining me. Today I'm going to be doing a tutorial on peaches. These are my peach earrings. You could do them in a matte or a gloss glaze. I use a gloss glaze in mine. I try to get them to look like glass. And I do multiple fruits that I give the glossy glaze to. Let's go ahead and get started. First I take white Primo. This is just plain white. No translucent, no nothing, just plain white. I roll it into a ball. And then I go around in a circle softly. I'm twisting with my left hand and I'm smashing with my right hand. So it gives it a flattened circle look. Sorry, you could already see lint coming up. But this is for demonstration. You may want to keep your baby wipes handy when you do this. And then this is a double-pointed needle. If you have really thin toothpicks, you could use a toothpick too. But I go into the top center, twisting just a little bit. And then I put the end inside the center. This is a double-pointed knitting needle, by the way. I believe it's like a 00 size. And I don't know if you saw what I did. I had it in the center and I push down and lift up. And that is the little indent that the peach has. I have bad allergies today, so sorry if I'm sounding all funny. I have pretty chronic allergies. Okay. So now that we have a little peach body, let me see if I could get some of this lint off my hands and show you with one of the other ones. This is more white conditioned clay. As you can see, I already have pastel dust on my hands, and I was trying to make a couple before we started. So what I do is I make some pastel dust. And the colors I actually use for this is the lighter of the yellow ochres, a kind of peachy salmony pink color, and then a darker peach salmon color. So I use my blade, for those of you who haven't done this before, and I will go along the side of the blade and the chalk to get the powder. I do that with the different colors I'm going to be using. I hope today or tomorrow to be doing pears too, so that's what these little guys are in the back. Just getting ready for me. Okay, so we have a little peach body. And then what I do is I'm trying to pick up the darker area right now of the peach. I take one side, and you know how sometimes fruits get that natural blush? I'm painting with the pale yellow ochre on the one side. Then I go with the pale pink and go all around. Top, bottom, side. And you can see how the yellow underneath the other side gives a different tone. I don't like my fruit all to have one tone, which is why many of the fruits I do is actually white clay, and I paint the clay with the pastels instead. So this is just normal soft pastels. I take the dark pastel and go on the top where the yellow is. And it's super bright, but it doesn't cook that way. Some of the colors cook pretty true, but for some reason things with red pigments in them, they never seem to cook true. They always fade out. I'm trying to get some color in that indent area. Now, look at how rich in color this is. After you cook it, it gets very, very pale. So there we go, and check out this one that I cooked right before we started taping. See how pale that is? That's this side. It lightens up quite a lot. So, what I do to counteract that, and I've already done it a little bit, well, let me do the stem and the leaf first, and then we'll get into that. But I wanted to show you that it bakes much, much lighter. I have some green here. You can use regular green, but I am using, it's the Spanish Oak, Spanish Moss Primo. I don't have my little label anymore, but it's like Spanish Moss, Spanish Oak, something like that. I'll have the right color name in the description area when I put the tutorial up, the written version. And I've mixed that with translucent. It's about 2/3 translucent in mine. So I roll a tiny, tiny ball, and then on the paper I roll one side of it to make a teardrop shape. Then I smash it with my finger. Keep that nice little teardrop shape on there. And then I take a safety pin and create an indent in the center of the leaf. So there we go. If it's sticking, you could lift it slightly with your pin. And then I pinch the end together to give it that more leafy shape. The secret to being able to get that is having the indent when we take the safety pin. So from here, I just put it on the side, right along the edge of that hole. So I try to attach that gently. And then I'll bring some of it towards the center, just try to adhese it a little bit. And then I'll twist it. And I'll lift the leaf again to make sure I keep that little edge. So there's a leaf on the peach. And then I took some brown. It's actually the burnt umber color and the translucent. It's just a little bit of the burnt umber, so it's a little less than 1/3 burnt umber to 2/3 translucent. I rolled it out to a really thin snake, and then you chop a little bit off. I find it easier to attach them with the end of a safety pin. So I pick it up with the edge of the safety pin, and I tap it right into that center. And then bend the handle the way you would want. From here, you would cook it. And once it's cooked, like I was showing you, it lightens up a lot. Let's see if we can get that in focus. So it's really light now. And what I do is I take a paintbrush with a tiny little bit of water. So I have a little bit of water in the shot glass. I dip the end of the paintbrush into it. And then I dip it into some of the richer tones of that salmon, like about an equal mix of the light versus the dark. And I've already done it a little bit here, so I don't need to do it too much more, but I just go along the top on one side, and paint along the edge. And the trick here is that it has to dry, and then we varnish. But it is water, so I want it to dry. I already did a little bit on there earlier. I was just too impatient to wait for another full batch to get out of the oven and cool before starting the tutorial, because I'm running low on a little time. I'm just putting a little TLS on my paper here, and just so I have an easier time painting it, I'm going to go ahead and attach my safety pin now. This is how I put the holes in my food. I drive a safety pin straight through. There you go. And then that's where your head pin would go to put your charms. Normally I put, before I varnish, I'll put the head pin through and an earring wire without closing the loop of the head pin, just so I can have something to hold on to, so my fingers aren't getting the varnish on it when I paint the actual peach itself. And then, after that, I usually hang it dry on an earring rack. Let me see if I can get this partly in the picture. So I have like a little earring rack that has loops. Okay, that wasn't a very good example, but it will have to do for right now. So I'm going to go ahead and varnish. See if we could see some of these peach colors coming out. So I start painting, and once the water's dry, you can't really tell the color of the paint so easily. And then you start seeing the colors come back out when you put the varnish on it. And the varnish, if you have added a little bit too much color, push the varnish around, because that will lift some of the color out. Like for instance, that is a lot of color right in the center here. The light isn't too good today. I don't know why. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know if it's cloudy over my shoulder. It's a really pretty color in person. So, yeah, I find if I use a pin or an ear wire to hold it on when I'm varnishing, I won't get the finger marks in the varnish, which is always a good thing to avoid. And if I hang it dry, the varnish, then I could avoid having a bottom that is flat and has varnish that may or may not come off. It's just a little extra work. So here is my peach. Now you can do this easily with a satin varnish or a matte varnish, and that works just as well. It just won't be glossy and shiny. I personally don't mind the glossy and shiny. I like that for my fruit. I'll bring these guys back forward again. These are appearing a lot more yellow on film than they are in person. Maybe my fingers are just too pink. But here we go. Little peaches. I'll take some pictures and add the written tutorial after a little bit, and then you can see what they look like in a little bit better light. I'll take pictures under my aught light so you can see the colors. But the pastels again, just so you get to see, were like a light yellow ochre, a pale kind of a peachy color, and then a more rich peachy color. And that is it. Thanks for joining me. Bye.